And the time has expired here, and we'll just get that for the record
on the HQ,
later.
It would be an
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Last week, the LA Times reported that Iran's foreign minister told the Iranian parliament that under the deal, Iran can deny inspectors access to military sites. Iran's defense minister has also stated that he would not allow international inspectors to enter Iran's military sites. Yet President Obama stated, quote, inspectors will also be able to access any suspicious location. Put simply, the organization responsible for the inspections, the IAEA, will have access where necessary, when necessary, end quote. Can the IAEA really have access to any and all military sites suspected of housing nuclear activity? Does the agency need pre-approval from Iran to access these sites? And the whole point of sanctions, Mr. Secretary, was not to bring Iran to the negotiation table, and dismantling Iran's nuclear infrastructure used to be the administration's goal. The administration repeatedly told us that it would focus sanctions only on its nuclear portfolio, yet in the deal we have over 60 pages of individuals, companies, vessels that will be delisted, specifically mentioned. Many of these sanctions are not nuclear related. The administration has always stated that all provisions within this agreement has to be agreed upon by all parties, which includes allowing the EU to lift sanctions on the Quds Force, including its leader, Soleimani. What do you say, Mr. Secretary, to the families of Americans who were killed or wounded as a result of Soleimani's actions in Iraq? And please explain to them why, as part of the nuclear negotiations, the U.S. agreed that the IRGC Quds Force, that is responsible for countless deaths around the globe, are going to get their designations lifted and will be getting billions of dollars to support their acts of terror throughout Europe. And I'm glad that it's only $50 billion. I feel better already. Secretary Kerry, you will be in Cuba soon. I remain extremely worried about allowing Cuba to open an embassy here in D.C., giving the regime a license to spy against our nation. Will U.S. law enforcement vet every Cuban official, so-called diplomat, who wants to come to Washington, and will we reject any Cuban official who wishes to be posted in D.C. if our law enforcement officials have information related to their espionage apparatus? And finally, Secretary Kerry, when announcing the deal, President Obama said, the Iranian deal, quote, we will continue our unprecedented efforts to strengthen Israel's security, end quote. Will you guarantee that the U.S. will veto a measure at the UN Security Council on Palestinian statehood that calls for anything but a two-state solution through direct bilateral negotiations between Israel and the Palestinians and nothing else?
So, Madam Chair, let me come back to you on the record on a bunch of those, because, again, they're more than we can answer in the time we have, and I appreciate your effort to get a lot of questions, and we will answer them all. Let me just clarify a couple of important things. I want Ernie and Jack to get in here on two things, one on the money and the other on the highly enriched uranium. But just very quickly, there's a confusion here between the dismantling of the nuclear weapons program versus the nuclear program. It was never the goal of this administration, and by the way, not even the Bush administration. The Bush administration in 2008 offered—
Mr. Secretary, with all due respect, perhaps if you could answer about the Soleimani, the lifting of sanctions
well, I just
of
want
the
to be very
EU,
clear,
which we
though,
agreed to.
I want to be very clear that we are achieving what we set out to do, which is dismantling their capacity to make a nuclear weapon. With respect to the military sites, yes, they will have, providing that is part of the inspection of an undeclared suspicious facility. And if it is, we will have access.
We will have access to the military sites?
If they don't provide it, they will be in material breach of this agreement, and the sanctions will snap back.
And we consult with Iran before we
Well, there's a process,
access.
There's a procedure in place, but it doesn't rely on Iran or Russia or China saying yes.
So Iran is wrong when they say that we won't have access to military sites?
No, what they're taking care of a domestic constituency in the way that they feel they need to. They understand that under this agreement,
Thank
what
you.
they say is not as important as you do.
Thank you.
I'm going to remind the
My time
members,
is up.
I'm going to remind